nothing we say within is financial advice. So,
exactly.
This show is for
advice.
infotainment purposes only, as they say. I like that word, infotainment.
I do two things in life, and only these two things. One is I'm a beatboxer. So when I say beatboxing, I mean the best way to learn it is basically fill your mouth with air and just puff it up, right? And say the word boo. Boo. Boo.
Where typically it has to be about a 15 to 18% variation of the original piece of artwork, and then it's not considered copy. Well, some people literally are just changing the shade of eyes of laser of a cat.
But that's the kind of madness we are living in right now.
So that's what we're trying to understand. You know, when it comes to gamification users, how does the audience, how does the person playing the game that we're designing, how do they interact? How are they understanding it and building a strong relationship?
But yeah, welcome to the Blockster crypto quiz talk fact. Interesting half hour. Yeah, we don't actually have a title for it, so we'll probably put that in post editing. Just to before I go, IJ, what's your first name, my friend?
Yeah, that's it. Just the initials. IJ.
Okay, awesome.
That's fine. I period, J period.
Brilliant. Right, so I'm the host of the show. I'll be the one asking the questions and kind of acting a bit dumb so these guys can, really show off everything they know. But let's go around in a circle and introduce yourselves if you don't mind. So let's go to the left. William, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, good morning. So I am a graphic artist, designer / canvas artist, and sometimes scientist, and coming to the webcast a little sleepy today, so forgive me. But also been switching a lot of my focus from the canvas world to digital. Had some success in the NFT world, and I'd like to think that what I'm creating currently digitally, no artist in the world is working in that same style. So having a lot of fun.
Excellent. Well, great to have you here, and I'm sure you'll have a lot to add in as we go along. Federico, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Calling from Lisbon. We've been attending some crypto conferences the last few weeks.
So, I love Lisbon. Lovely part of the world.
Warm weather, cool people, a lot of drinks, still fun. Yeah. For what concerns myself, I'm a trader for a quantitative firm. We trade the derivatives, and at the moment, we are spinning up a new venture, which is gonna be an investment DAO focused on the Solana ecosystem, which will try to chase opportunities, exotic fields, say that of NFT, say yield farming, and say DeFi.
Okay, brilliant. So coming from a very different angle to William then, but a lot of expertise there nonetheless. IJ, if you don't mind.
So we've been in the FinRen space for almost 25 years. With financial technology, so this is pre-distributed ledgers, so pre-blockchain. Over the last 7-8 years, we evolved a consultancy, a house for helpful formation and funding for crypto ventures and blockchain ventures. And recently we started a new venture, what's called the NFT Studios. So we have, we're developing games, play to earn, and also developing different marketplaces consulting for the NFT space.
Brilliant stuff. And last but not least at all, Alberto.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. Calling in from Lisbon, actually just a few meters aside from Federico. So basically we work together on this Meta Collective, which is as you were saying, basically it's going to be the first investment DAO on Solana. And about me, I've been into crypto since 2017, and I have a financial background in classic corporate. Now I'm full over into crypto because it's the rocket is just starting off.
I couldn't agree with you more, although let's put a nice bracket around this show before we get started. Nothing we say within is financial advice.
Exactly.
This show is for infotainment purposes only, as they say. I like that word, infotainment.
Quick question, Ben. Is that like a real human-sized Groot action figure in the background?
Oh, I am so glad you asked. Yes, it is. It was my Halloween costume 2 years ago.
Really nice.
My other half, Dion Amy Edwards, is also an NFT artist and a real-world artist who has kind of made an art exhibit of my living room. With drawings on the walls and holes in surfaces and all sorts. So it's a good life to live. I'm more of an art fan myself than anything, so this is why I think this is going to be an interesting conversation for me.
Nice.
Yeah, brilliant. But yeah, it was best Halloween costume ever, handmade from scratch, bless her. So, right. So our format today, as I was saying right at the start to the guys, but our format is going to be very simple. We're going to go through a couple of, kind of simple questions, which are going to lead into a few, kind of ditties, hopefully interesting stories from you guys. Like I say, nice, easy going. I think we've got about 40 minutes or so to get through this. So, yeah, 40 minutes, 4 questions, about 10 minutes apiece. Right, so first one for you guys, and I think that the financial guys in the room might have the edge in this one. What was the reported total NFT sales in Q3 2021? Were they either $900 million or $10.7 billion? So there's no points or anything like that. We're just playing for.
I'm going to go on the high side on this one. I'm going to go on the high side for recorded record, about 10 and some change B that we know of, and obviously private transfers we're not aware of for NFTs.
Yeah, of course. I mean, these are just reported sales according to the big sites and such. Will, would you go in that region as well?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It does sound slightly high, but the first number was way too low. So.
Yeah, and I mean,
you made the question easy now.
I thought it's early in the morning. I didn't want to be too tough, but yeah, perhaps I lowballed the first option a little bit. Yeah, correct, of course. So yeah, $10.7 billion in reported NFT sales in Q3 alone, which is, well, I mean, that's phenomenal considering where we were, I mean, $3 billion or something was pretty much the entire market's up until that point. What do you guys think is kind of the catalyst, if there is such a thing, for this massive growth recently?
Please.
I think AJ, you were speaking. Good. Feel free.
Okay. I mean, for us, it's if you look across the board, not just in the blockchain or crypto, I'm really chasing alpha. So just a higher rate of return on any kind of investment. You've seen the market very energetic over the last 15 years. We see that, someone would say a hiccup or a slowdown because of COVID. But really the equity markets have led the way the last 15 years. And I think with more of adoption and more of understanding of blockchain, people are trying to find higher, return on investments. So they're looking at more exotic instruments. I mean, Federico, you guys mentioned it. Alberto, you mentioned it. Like what you guys are looking at yourselves is that people are looking to migrate assets over, and really NFTs is a great way for people to start understanding different forms of investing and different ways of storing what we would understand as value. So I think that's what you're seeing. It's a trend, and obviously people being able, high connectivity is people being able to communicate, talk. We're having a conversation right now from all around the world. So I think those are some of the trends we're seeing, at least for migration that we're seeing for the NFT space.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Federico, Alberto, like I say, you guys are coming from a kind of finance side of things. Do you think there's any kind of, sorry, tapping on me mic there. Do you think there's any kind of additional reasons behind this?
Yeah, I think the reason is that NFT from a regulatory point of view are more clear, as in you can easily say that they're not securities. So you got companies issuing them, which are very famous household names. So people see these household names and they say, okay, if McDonald's is doing their NFT, it must be something illicit. I mean, and I don't think most of the time it's like, I'm gonna make money on the McDonald's NFT or not, but it's just like the association with these big brands make them much more appealing to everyday job.
Yeah, so you think possibly it's that kind of, that hedge almost, like it's it merges things a little bit. Coming from an artistic side of things, then, Will, do you think maybe there's anything there or anything to add?
So the financial aspect is very important, and the adoption of cryptocurrencies has been mentioned, right? So more people have made money in Ethereum, more people have made money in different cryptos, so they have the money to spend, right? But I look at things from a collectible perspective. I'm looking at things from a metaverse perspective, and that people are going to want to buy certain NFTs, certain things that they can use in the play to earn gaming space. So I really see those as two developments that are really driving the NFT space right now. And younger people, they want a personal connection with the artist, and they want some cool things on their mobile phone. It's a lot different. Whereas I'm old school, and I still like to unwind at night with a nice glass of wine or scotch and a nice music and a painting, right in front of me on the wall. So I have embraced the NFT world from a collectible perspective at the same time, though. And I think that's a huge driver.
I think that's a very nice segue, to be honest. In terms of, like you say, there's a very distinct kind of split almost in terms of the two sides. Maybe there's more than two sides, you guys might want to add in, but the kind of clear split or part of the trend has been that move from the NFT gaming and collectible and things like crypto kitties, which represented a large share of the market up until, like I say, possibly the start of Q3 this year, and that huge jump into classifying the pieces as art, digital art. And perhaps it connects, like you say, going back to what you were saying at the start there, IJ, about alpha. Basically, people are looking at, well, in real art, there's massive margins, it's a store of value. Yeah, perhaps there's a big connection there. But that does very nicely lead into our second question then. So I'm pretty sure, given your guys' expertise here, you all know what the largest NFT platform by trade is, according to Cointelegraph, just for reference. But do you know what is the second largest platform by trades completed?
Is it Rarible?
Rarible? That would have been my first guess, to be honest, but no, I don't know their actual figures off the top of my head. But I was a little bit surprised with this one.
Or could
I mean,
be
I'm
like
gonna take
the Binance Marketplace?
No. So, like I say, it's kind of connecting to the next side of things. Clues into what Will was saying about the link to the gaming and collectibles world.
I'll take a shot. I'll say Axie Infinity if you want to say a closed system loop.
Yeah, if I was going to, if I had a little bell here, you'd have just got a ding. Yes, spot on. Axie Infinity is, I mean, it's a long way behind Opensea, but in terms of total trades done, yeah, it is apparently the second biggest one. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think in terms of this link between art and gaming and ownership? Do you think in-game items could ever be considered art in that way?
Yeah, I think in-game items will be considered art in various ways, and I'm trying to look at my approach as an artist, and I'm not really into the gamification of what I do so much. It doesn't so much interest me, but what I think you're going to have a lot of, especially canvas-based artists that still want to just focus on their art and not the gaming aspect, is, hey, we'll do NFTs and put us in your gallery in the metaverse. Put us in your digital gallery in your house, put us in your gallery if you have some real estate in the metaverse, or you have a gallery or a house. Yeah, we'll be on there. We'll be on your wall.
Yeah, I mean, the metaverse is, I mean, it is hard not to talk about NFTs without diving into metaverse topics, isn't it?
Right.
Again, anything, either of you guys? Yeah, Alberto,
100%.
Federico?
Me personally, I spend hundreds of hours per year playing computer games. So if I could somehow show off the items of which I'm very proud inside the game in some other way, or bring them across cross game another platform, or that would be super cool.
Well, yeah, I remember just anecdotally, my other half's son, must have been a few years back. It was when Fortnite was new. And I was asking about what do you want for Christmas, Lado? And he's like, I don't know. I'll tell you what, can I have an Xbox Live voucher so I can buy a dance? I was like, what? and he was like, what? Yeah, so you can have like little, your character can do a little dance after they've killed someone, and you have to buy them and individually. So, I mean, those kind of things. I mean, yeah, the potential for NFTs to make unique little victory dances and helmets, and it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we kind of have an analogy or kind of likeness or just kind of in the background of kind of like the thesis of how we're approaching NFTs in the marketplace is like, we're all humans, we're all guys, right? So, predominantly the tech field is dominated. I mean, look at this, the panel of 5 people, we're all guys. We kind of attribute it to like vehicles and cars and trucks. So NFTs, they all, say they all have 4 wheels, but they all have different, really different utilities. So if you have a pickup truck or an SUV, or if you have a large family, that is a form of an NFT, right? It's a vehicle. But if you're in high school, right? If you're in high school, or if you're, if you look at, say, Ferraris or Lamborghinis, I mean, that's a rolling piece of artwork that does have utility that you can drive around, but you're not going to bring your family in. So we kind of have that version when it comes to NFTs. And, going to the story about your partner's son, I mean, like when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, I mean, I wanted a fast looking car, right? So that gave me a lot of street cred that, that got a lot of people noticed. But there's kids who have CryptoPunks worth, $2.5 million on their cell phone, and that gives them a lot of street cred. So before, maybe sneakers is the way to get attention 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe a car, a Mustang for me, a few years back, maybe many years back. But now it's about having street cred. So we just see it as a utility, and they can have all different forms. Maybe not the best form is to go off-roading with a Lamborghini, but maybe that utility, AKA this NFT, can perform different things. One, a piece of artwork. One actually can earn you income in maybe, a developing world. And another one is really just an expression of maybe your belief systems or what you like, such as maybe a digital baby Groot out there. I don't know.
Oh, well, you lead me very nicely into a train of thought I've had quite a few times with this. In a way, it kind of leads into what's that human need, the search for individuality and identity, doesn't it? Like you say, having the one-of-a-kind crypto punk which represents your brand, your identity, and no one else can take that off you. I think, in an ever-increasing populace of a world, that's something we're all striving for, isn't it? Like I say, I can claim to be the only person who owns that variation of a Groot costume, and this, it adds into that element of what makes Ben unique, which is a quite nice part to introduce, kind of joining us here, Abhishek. My screen, I'm looking at the writing, it's a little bit small for me to see there, but how are you, buddy?
Yeah, hey Benjamin, sorry if I'm a few minutes late. I think the IST time got messed up. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me as part of this conversation with Blockster, and I'm really excited to discussing NFTs and DAOs and whatever may be the topic of discussion for today.
Alrighty, well, so just to feed you in, buddy, we have the luxury of not being live today, so if we make any faffs or any ums and ahs from me, which there's a lot, I tend to make a lot of umming and ahhing noises, we can always edit it out. I'm sure the lovely Blockster people will make us look nice and smart. But basically the format we've got is I've got like a couple of very easygoing quiz style questions which lead into topics of conversation based around the NFT world. So just for reference, we've kind of touched on topics of market growth and why, the money is pouring into NFTs at the moment. And we're just talking about the relationship between metaverse, gaming, and digital identity. And, in-game items and, are they art? So I suppose if you want to give us a quick introduction, we'll kind of cut that into the start. So tell us who you are, what you do, and then while you're doing that, give us some thoughts on gaming items and art and all that.
Sure. So my name is Abhishek Bhaskar. In the crypto and the metaverse space, I go by the name Abverse. I do two things in life, and only these two things. One is I'm a beatboxer. So when I say beatboxing, I mean so all those sounds came out of my mouth, and that is beatboxing. And the other thing which I do is I'm a 3D designer as well. So I'm an architect by profession here in Bangalore, India, and I passed out in 2017, and I started my own company called Dirt Lab. So even with architecture, most of my time is invested into what architecture can be in the future, which is basically what is happening right now, which is the metaverse, building in the metaverse, right? And also in beatboxing, I've been fortunate enough to be the brand ambassador for Adidas and JBL to represent the hip hop culture in India. And I've conducted beatboxing workshops. In fact, two of India's biggest beatboxing workshops with a few celebrities here in India called Virat Kohli, Ranveer Singh, and Chris Gale, and all these people. And I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. I'm 26 right now. And I've been one of the first generation beatboxers, so to speak, here in India. And I've been very lucky to figure out or get exposed to beatboxing at a very young age and create a profession, if you think about it, of making noises with my mouth. And that has been my profession. So how does that get into NFTs is basically since I'm also in the visual side, which is the architectural side, right? So I always wanted to figure out a way where we can visualize beatboxing or the human voice, because in my opinion, we are in the third evolution of the human voice, which is first we humans learned how to speak, and then we humans learned how to sing. The third one being vocal percussions. What exactly beatboxing is creating sounds of musical instruments through your mouth. And that is what I want to visualize. Or for example, if people can't hear beatboxing, if they are differently abled, right, they can see meta voice. That's my project. It's called the Meta Voice project, and see sound and create music for themselves, so through their eyes. So that's my intent and that's my mission with Meta Voice, and that got converted into an NFT. So yeah, that was my journey, and the reception it got was insane. So people just went crazy for it, and I've been fortunate enough to get accepted into the NFT space as well.
Well, I think it would be remiss of an opportunity of me, and I apologise to all the other guys here, but you say you do beatboxing workshops. Let's keep this short and sweet if you can. What would be the very first thing you would teach people to try and do? And if anyone else wants to have a go, let's have a little crack at this, shall we?
Step one would be the bass drum, the kick drum, right? So the best way to learn it is basically fill your mouth with air and just puff it up, right? And say the word boo. 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 Yeah. Once you get to that stage, that is step one. Step two is basically you cut the oo. Remove the syllable oo from there. So what you're left with is... Exactly. Ben already got it.
Hey.
So that's how easy
dream
it is.
fulfilled, right? I know what I'm doing with the rest of my day after we finish this interview.
Yeah.
Right, awesome stuff. Well, like I say, great to have you here with us, buddy. And I think that's a pretty good segue into going to our third question. Right. Oh, let's just make sure we kind of cover the topics here. Oh, no, actually, we wanted to go a little bit into the idea of Opensea and decentralization. So rewind that last little bit, whoever's doing the editing, cut. But yes. So in terms of, we were just saying, obviously there's whilst NFTs are a decentralized thing, the Opensea dominance on the market is... undeniable at the moment. What do you guys think in terms of, is this an okay situation? Is it a bit just capitalism in its natural evolution that one best preference choice of the people will emerge? Or is this kind of a situation that needs to be remedied? No one wants to have a pop at Opensea.
Yeah, Opensea is a good place, I think, for a lot of one artists to get lost. Of course, there's a lot of good work, but there's just a lot of noise there. And unfortunately, one thing that we're dealing with in the NFT world more and more is just a lot of art theft. A lot of people taking art and trying to pass it on as their own. And I'm seeing it more, I think, coming from art originating on Opensea being taken off that platform and put on other places rather than back on Opensea. But they have been really quick to respond to issues with the decentralization. That's always a tricky subject. But when it comes to NFTs, you do need governance. You need some type of centralization on that. Just to mediate disputes, especially when it comes to intellectual property. So it's really, really, I'm dealing every day with, theoretically, what is that balance between the centralization and decentralization? How do we achieve that balance and still be called decentralized?
I mean, I write a lot of pieces for Hacker Noon, and a while ago I wrote a bit about the sliding scale of decentralization and leadership. But Federico, did you want to jump in there, buddy?
Yeah, I do not agree necessarily with what William said, because a platform is either decentralized or not. You do not really have middle ground, because like as soon as you have like a vector or like a point where like trust is required, the platform will not be trustless anymore. Obviously that can be used as a vector attack. So there are like several ways through which you can verify the issuer identity on a blockchain. So I don't really see like the need of a marketplace to act as guarantee of the authenticity of a piece. So like I think the utility of OpenSea at the moment is just that it gives you exposure to your NFT to an extremely huge user base, but not necessarily, they're not being very helpful with fakes and counterfeits. And this is true and valid for other exchanges where we saw and detected a lot of fake pieces being sold.
In terms of fake pieces, there was a very interesting story I wrote, which I was just trying to Google the lady's name, but I'm sure one of you would have heard this. There was a lady who, a picture of her got sold as an NFT for, was listed as an NFT, and she was not happy about it because, she owned the rights to that photo and someone else had taken it, and out of pure anger, she actually paid $70,000 at the time for this NFT of herself to buy herself back off the marketplace. Luckily the story kind of caught on, and she sold it on in the future and made a profit, so all's well that ends well for her. But it's kind of a crazy situation where the only option left for someone who's, their face, their image is being used, is to buy themselves back. Do you think there's another way forward? Do we think William's right in that some sort of centralized medium is needed, or?
I want to throw this out right there, because so our understanding of finance, really going back literally the last 1,000 years, is us. I have bread, you have donuts, you have a cow. Let's figure this out, and we see that different parts around the world are at different levels of understanding really just finance itself. So now that you just inject this a huge amount of computer power and connectivity, wireless communication, literally satellite communication, and then you add the diverse eclectic groupings of jurisdictional law, right? This is what we're talking about. when we're talking about intellectual property, this is people make the talk about the Wild West when it comes to crypto. Well, if crypto's the Wild West, this is just an absolute black hole when it comes to NFTs. There's no one to enforce it, because if I'm an artist here in Mexico and you replicate it and you're in Great Britain, or if you distribute it out of a place like, say, North Korea or Iran, what's the enforcement? There really is none. So, defending your property, defending your rights, let alone intellectual property, it's a very, very large challenge. And I think we even have to really start looking at on a global scale of what that looks like, and maybe ushering in a new understanding of intellectual property rights. So, talking about beatboxing, I just want to take, answers. So usually when it comes to being an artist, we want to replicate and then maybe improve, change, maybe from a beat, a riff, or a sample set. Literally the name is sampling, to produce something completely uniquely individual. That's always when it comes to infringement of of really about music rights, can you imagine about an image where typically it has to be about a 15 to 18% variation of the original piece of artwork, and then it's not considered copy? Well, some people literally are just changing the shade of eyes of laser of a cat, and they just score 20 Ethereum. So bless their hearts. So when I say this, I mean, we're talking about the wild west of crypto and blockchain. We're all hitting all-time highs, and you guys are in Lisbon. A bunch of my friends are there. Everyone's having a great time. But when it comes to literally protecting, quote unquote, digital rights, I mean, it is a black hole out there.
Oh, I think that's a massive topic in and of itself, isn't it? Just protection of rights and issues. I mean, a big thing people often, the popular me you see on Twitter is, I just right-clicked and saved the NFT. But then obviously, I mean, what's the difference between that and walking into an art gallery with a high-quality camera? You print off and, it's... Again, it is not the same thing, but it is the same thing. But if the reproduction is of a sufficient quality, art forgeries have been a thing in the industry for years, haven't they, William? Or Will? Sorry, I still haven't. I'm going halfway between that. Is it William or Will?
Both are fine. I mean, right. So Picasso said, "Good artists create, and great artists steal." And there is a lot of wisdom in that. But unfortunately, and I maybe I'm not directly answering your question, but I'm more addressing the previous topic is there is an intellectual property conversation that needs to be had more. Unfortunately, when you do have that conversation, you're not going to sell much because it makes people uncomfortable, and people are like, well, wait, if I buy this photo, then do I own the copyright, or does this grant me the fair use for using this in a non-monetization way? And you start stacking these things up. Sooner or later, you realize, as an artist, a photographer, a musician, it's just easier to list the damn thing and sort of deal with the fallout afterwards of IP, if there is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. Well put, Federico.
I mean, the intellectual property debate is really an interesting one. One could argue that, this intellectual property is safeguarded by the monopoly of the state by the use of force and coercion. So is it necessarily good? Doesn't copying other people's products result in lower price and better products for users? If I can buy the same good which serves exactly the same purpose at 90 instead of 100, I will be much better off. So I'm not sure whom intellectual property is helping. Is it the customers or is it the corporate? And in the NFT case, is it the artist or is it the people who just want to buy a piece of art?
Yeah. It's one of those, can the law ever keep up with the evolution of technology in that kind of sense? And who are the laws kind of protecting? Whose interests are they set for in the first place? Right, so we're kind of drifting on in terms of time. So shall we move into probably the rudest question of the day? As I was saying, Abhishek. Sorry, what did you say you prefer to be called?
Abverse is fine.
Abverse, there we go. I was saying my other show is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's a bit of a crazy one, but I've tried to tone things down for this. But this is a question I touched on in my other show. Taking us into kind of the idea of ticketing and virtual event rights and memes to a degree. How much I'll restart that. How much is a supervised day visit with a 14-inch tungsten cube as an NFT ticket? $2,500, $25,000, or $250,000?
In the NFT space, for sure, it has to be $250,000. Otherwise, it's not crazy enough to be considered anything else, right? But that's the kind of madness we are living in right now, right? So even in some NFTs, I think it was Ether Rocks or something, if I'm not sure, the ones which are going for millions of dollars. Isn't that insane after a point? Maybe $1,000 for normal human beings, but anything after that, only the immortals can purchase those things, right? It's not possible for people like us to get those things. So I think that is the kind of time we're living in, and to address even yesterday I was having a discussion with another person. I think we're kind of maturing into this particular phase, because unless this is my philosophy, right? Unless we are hurt by a particular thing, we will not learn from those mistakes. For example, the pandemic which we are living through right now, unless all these people went out and sacrificed themselves blindly, right? They wouldn't know that, okay, this shouldn't be done. Like, for people like us with some sense, we know that, okay, we should probably stick inside for a couple of years and then go out once it's absolutely safe, but people are willing to risk it. And I think we have to mature into that particular phase, and I think that is what NFTs are going through in a way right now. Like, people are giving out a lot of speculation at this particular point in time, and that will eventually lead to maturity. Some people will burn their hands getting these costly NFTs. I'm not talking about the primary markets at all. Neglect the primary markets, because those are the valid points. Anything after that which crosses, say, millions and millions of dollars for I don't know which particular piece of art, but that is where it kind of gets, someone has to get burnt at the end of the day, right? For us to mature and proceed ahead. I think that is where we are learning the hard lessons right now, and we're maturing into a more of a realistic sort of a sense right now. I think it'll take time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to definitely agree that when it comes to the very speculative, hype-driven projects, ones, it's essentially a game of hot potato, isn't it? People are buying it, hoping they can pass it off to the next person. Unless, your thing really is, digital rocks with laser eyes, which, I mean, if it is, who am I to judge? I have a giant Groot statue in my in my living room, so what can I say on that? Art is... That's my favourite quote on art. It just is. But yeah, as you were saying, 250k was the correct answer with this one. So just for reference, it started off as a bit of a meme because of a typo due to a CoinDesk reporter. But Tungsten cubes, and mine's only a tiny little 1 centimetre one. I haven't got a 14-inch one, just a tiny little one. Hey. But yeah, they are quite fascinating things. It's dense, it's a precious metal. And so because of this meme, I believe it's actually on Solana, the project, but it's more than a purely speculative, art-driven piece, this. It is, you effectively own 1/365th of a 14-inch tungsten cube of precious metal, but in that kind of timeshare, non-custodial ownership way. So it's kind of like a day visit ticket where you get to spend a day touching the cube, or whatever people do while someone's watching them with a giant cube. But also, like, say it is kind of that, it represents something in the real world, that ticketing event. Do you think these kind of crossover real world, digital world items are going to be more the commonplace? I mean, personally, I'm seeing a bit of a trend for these type of things.
Hey, really quick, I just want to throw out there, I'm super impressed with the non-custodial little reference there to timeshare. So shout out to Ben. Good job on that. Can we give him a point? That was pretty baller. I won't lie. I don't know what the point was, but I just want to say that. So kudos to you, bro.
No, thank you. Yeah, I've spent way too much time thinking about this story and telling my loving, very caring other half that if she doesn't buy me a tungsten cube, I'll stop loving her. So yeah, very strange couple of weeks. But
as for me, I like the cube, and it's fascinating because historically tungsten was used to counterfeit gold because it has like a very similar density. So we would have these big tungsten bars painted with gold. And it's actually likely that the Federal Reserve is full of these gold and bars because it was never audited. Very controversial.
No, yeah. I mean, I personally, I love a good meme, and I love when these trends kind of erupt and following them. I'm a bit of a nerd for that type of thing. But yeah, I'm never sure how. Again, when you started off with that kind of idea of ICOs and cryptocurrency in 2017, it's all the Wild West. And then we've somehow tried to evolve into a use case of NFT market spaces, how we've almost come full circle back into the idea of timeshares. Does that not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone want to add anything more on that topic? Like I say, we'll edit out my ums and ahs. Or should we move to our final question with 15 minutes to go? Because I know this is a kind of a big talker. Yep, moving swiftly on then. Right, so final question for you guys. And it's an either-or question. Which of these big brand NFTs raised the most money, should we call it? Either Charmin, who released digital toilet paper, or a perfume brand whose name I didn't write down clear enough to read, but Digital Perfume, which is the chocolate fireguard of our generation, I think, maybe. Which one raised more for their big brand associations there, do we think?
I will go for the toilet paper, just because we're on the internet.
Toilet paper?
I would go for the toilet paper too, because I think in real life there's more practical applications for the toilet paper. And there probably is in the digital world as well, at least from a meme angle, right?
Maybe for clearing out all the digital diarrhea on Twitter, right, or something like that. Right. Well, no, actually, surprisingly, the digital toilet paper went for about $4,000, and the digital perfume went for $18,000, which perhaps there was a little more to the story than I was reading into, but no, I mean, I cannot think of a more pointless idea ever. I mean, what is digital perfume? Surely.
You know, really quick, I just want to throw this out there because like the valuations, I mean, there's really no valuations, you know, there's just, let's bet on anything that's the highest option. We're going to say that's the winner. And I think what you're seeing is when it comes to brands, so we work with different studios, we work with, we work with media houses, media distributors. I won't mention who we work with, but the question is do these legacy organizations, so like, let's look at an example of maybe BBC, right? So they understand distribution of media, music, sound, video, all these other universal channels. And then they see these kids rolling around in Lambos, right? When they come to London, right? So like they're literally trying to figure out, how do we grab attention from the younger audience, this demographic? These are young, mobile, educated people, because to really get involved in NFTs, you have to have two things. You have to have a device, either a laptop or a cell phone or a mobile phone. And then secondly, you have to be connected. So just by having a device and connected, that means you're actually a consumer of some kind of good or service, or maybe it's just information. So everyone, even the BBC, every major brand out there, every major recruiting artist, every major studio out there, every major media outlet is trying to figure out how to grab attention. And literally they're just throwing, and then consultants, like maybe there's a couple consultants here, or maybe we work with consultants who are making bank, because literally everyone's just trying to grab that attention and figure it out, because this could be something special. This, obviously I work in the space, but could this be something special? People's like, could this be the next internet? Could this be the next car industry? We don't know. And I think you're starting to see that, where people are just like, major corporations are just hiring literally kids, or even old retired people who say they've been in the blockchain game for 10 years and just giving them bounds of money to try stuff. I mean, like, I don't know, should I buy a McDonald's McRib NFT? It sounds cool. I mean, I'm sure I could pawn that off to somebody in the future, but I think that's what you're seeing. You see a lot. I mean, like, talking about crash and burning, you're probably going to see some value, appreciation, a lot of products and services, and you're probably going to see devaluation. So that's what we're seeing. I think a lot of organizations out there are just trying to get in the mix. So obviously I'd like to hear anybody else's input, but I think you're going to see a lot of crazy venues.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Like, how do you achieve price discovery in a decentralized NFT marketplace, across multiple blockchains? I mean, it's really difficult. And then the toilet paper and the perfume, I would have asked what the utility was in those. What is the unlockable? And you see, everyone's like, well, we need utility. And most of the utility I see is either something that no one needs or something that will expire eventually. So what a crazy place. I mean, we're going to need those market makers somewhere, which is a more centralized function. But they'll step up. Are there going to be influencers, or I don't know who, to help us determine the price of what an NFT should go for?
I just want to jump in with one point regarding price discovery, right? So there are a couple of marketplaces that are working on solving this particular problem as we speak. I don't know if I can mention the name of these brands. I don't want to plug them, right?
No,
So
no, we're
they
not
are-
going live, so they'll edit it
Yeah.
out if they don't like it.
Yeah, so if you just want to check it out, there is a company called Fusible, Fusible, that basically works on a Dutch auction system, and that is at that particular point, that is where the price discovery comes in for a particular NFT. So an artist could just drop their NFT and then let the that is true decentralized way of price discovery, right? Like there is no one curated like say the curator is not deciding the price of it or anything like that. It is the people that is ultimately deciding the price of the NFT. So I think that is pretty cool that is happening right now. But again, it's still crazy. So the NFT space, the valuations, even I don't know if I can bomb my own artwork, but some of my own artwork, like the collectors are just pricing it for like I wouldn't pay so much, like $800,000, and like what are you doing? I wouldn't pay for that much for my own artwork, right? So I think
just
it's
Elon
crazy.
Musked your own business there, buddy.
You just crashed your market.
Yeah, just don't put that up in the final piece. Yeah. So note to editor, right? But that is what is happening right now. So and that's insane and it's crazy. It's just crazy, pure craziness at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, the speculation's insane. The hugest ever sale was $520 million, wasn't it? But that turned out to be a bit of a wash back and forth, of course. But again, I mean, coming from a role as an Adidas brand ambassador, this is kind of the point I was leading to that you mentioned there, IJ. But whilst it is, again, still we're in a bit of a all hands on deck, what do we do? Are NFTs inevitable for brands going forward? So one of the big analogies, or one of the big trends of thought I've always been following is, well, obviously 3D printing technology is too expensive for the average household consumer right now. It won't be very soon. So as soon as we come to that point, how do Nike or Adidas produce a trainer without having some form of verifiable one-of-a-kindsmanship? Wasn't as eloquent as my previous piece.
I think right now NFTs are just restricted to a particular art, right? But there was this one discussion on Clubhouse where we were discussing what exactly is the future of NFTs, right? It could seep into every single part of our lives in terms of transactions. So say Adidas, for example, obviously, and if say Adidas had to make 1 million pairs of a particular product, right, a new product line, only 1 million products could ever be created, right? And every shoe they sell with at the POS, like at the point of transaction in a particular store maybe, right, that could be the place where you mint your actual shoe. That is the discussions which we were having. So you walk into an Adidas store and you purchase a shoe, and when that shoe is being the transaction is happening, right, you could again, right now even NFT marketplaces, you can integrate your credit card or your account, your bank account with that particular marketplace, and you can purchase an item. So why can't we do that at a point of transaction at any particular store? So which could say you are the probably 1569th owner of this particular product line. So that is the vision which I personally see with NFTs, where everything could, I don't want to categorize it at NFTs at all, digital ownerships, right? You actually own that particular shoe and it has some digital value to it. And it's very easy because even when designers design a particular product, they have a 3D model. So it's very easy to drop it into the metaverse, and also you get a digital version of your physical piece, right? I think that is where we are heading to. I have a physical shoe. If I'm not happy with it, the moment I go home and I plug into the metaverse, I also have the same product in with me in the metaverse as well. I think that is where we're actually heading to. NFTs will morph into like our daily transactional lives. So I think that's Pretty exciting.
I mean, maybe I'm showing my age a bit here, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old TV show Black Mirror. Well, it's not even that old, but the idea of avatars which represent exactly and having digital, it maybe sends a bit of a feeling old shiver down my spine sometimes. But I just want to come back to what you were saying then, in terms of the ownership then. So just to play contrarian, and obviously, I mean, yeah, you can tell I'm a bigger, crypto person, but just to play the grumpy contrarian, what's the difference between what you've just described then and a receipt with a barcode? Is that where it's going? I mean, if anyone else wants to jump in as well.
So I just want to point out one single thing, right? So there in that particular point, we exactly don't know which number or how many have totally been created. So when I say this, the total circulating supply, right? So what circulating supply does in a conceptual way is actually give more power to the owners of that particular piece, right? For example, the system, the government, they can print as much as they like, or even Adidas, they can keep creating it again and again. But what if you limit the supply to only say 1 million units, right? Once that runs out, right, then the ownership of these individual pieces becomes more valuable. But that does not exist right now, right? You could bring back another piece again and again, but once we put the entire Adidas system on the blockchain, every single piece is accounted for. I get ownership, as well as there is another economic angle to it. I can resell it to another person for a higher value. Now, you can do that right now as well. You can just buy it soon, but you don't know the exact number, what edition number in terms of NFT, right? So what if you got the first edition, like the first product which was created in the production, the manufacturing line or something like that. So that creates inherent value within the product, which is not there right now. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, no, interesting points, definitely. Do we want to add some final thoughts, guys, as we're coming toward the end? And like I say, just kind of ramble over whatever you want to say for a couple of...
Yeah, I mean, to that point also, there's also so many other angles of like fractionalized ownership. Once it goes digital, something that I'm involved pretty heavily with is social tokens, right? So if you're like an artist, you can invest in a token. And then if an artist makes on that blockchain, if a certain amount of their money that they're making from the work on the secondary market will go as royalties to those token holders, right? So even think of like if Picasso had passed away and he had his own coin, and people that were selling that every time a Picasso changed hands, right? The holders of that coin would make money. So we're just scratching the surface now of I hate to use the word gamification, but sort of the gamification on the financial aspect of where we're headed with NFTs.
It's kind of oddly fitting you should say that, actually. Obviously, I'm not an artist as such, but I'm a bit of a joker. I like to make memes and stuff. A little while back, as part of my main job, my main passion, a blockchain which recently rebranded to Everscale, there's an NFT marketplace over there called Grand Bazaar, and I had an email pop up for them. And I forgot... back when they launched, I'd done a silly range of like GIFs, basically, which were just very, very silly, and they made me laugh. It was an afternoon relaxing. But I had an email about the royalties where someone had actually sold one on again, and yeah, I mean, this kind of opportunity for passive income it was lovely, to be honest. I'd nearly forgot about it. So sorry, I'm tangenting there, but I just had a lovely moment when I received that email. So yeah, Federico, did you want to jump in, buddy?
Yeah, I was about something that I like the idea of having like a digital twin, but I think it's difficult to apply in real life. Like say you have your nice luxury watch and you have the digital NFT, and I don't know, you lose the private key to your wallet, or the watch is stolen, so you have one but not the other. Which one does apply? Which one is the real claim? So it's just like very much redundant. I think it makes like a lot of sense if you are confining yourself to everything which is only digital, only in the metaverse. But I don't think it is as easy as it sounds to bridge the real world with the metaverse.
Yeah, some excellent points. IJ, do you want to jump in with a few last words?
Yeah, no, I just want to say once again, thanks for this opportunity. For us, a lot of our attention is really working with trying to understand the end user. I mean, literally, that's what our group and our experience is we really about the end user. I mean, like, so I'm just going to talk really a question about that outfit, that group outfit. Think about how much time, energy, and attention you had to come imaginary to build a relationship with a character that was originally based out of a comic book and then ultimately distributed, in, the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, it's, so that relationship that you have right now, that, I mean, how can we not make an NFT of that Groot outfit? Maybe you have to get you suited up in it once again. I don't know if it will fit.
I'll come interview you in it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so that's what we're trying to understand. When it comes to gamification and users, how does the audience, how does the person playing the game that we're designing, how do they interact? How are they understanding it and building a stronger relationship? When we do UX, you're talking about DAOs earlier, like, even the fact that I'm doing an emotional act, AKA trying to make money or trying to lose money or the user experience of manipulating that software package, that portal is something really, it's about the user experience. So ultimately, when, adverse, is producing music, right? It's what the audience is giving. So we're trying to understand that, and we want to give a better experience, try to improve that experience. And if it goes up in value, obviously cool. We are in here for business. But if it just puts a smile on someone's face, I mean, that could be a benefit as well. And that's ultimately what we think art could be, is just an expression of really ourselves.
I think you touched on a very good point, not just for NFTs, but the blockchain space in general there, which maybe a lot of projects in the past or around today have been guilty of. I think the main point is, if it's not more convenient or better to use than the technology it's replacing, you're going to struggle for mass adoption. And why would people always tend to take the path of least resistance for the general part, don't they? People don't want a stressful buying experience or art experience. But yeah, Alberto.
Yes, I think that like coming back also like to Federico's world, I think that we live in a world, and we as crypto enthusiasts like live in a world that is 100 times like ahead of the commercial, and so like in terms like of NFT and digital twin, I think that for sure like it's something cool. The problem like is how do we get to mass adoption? I think that most of the companies like out there, especially like in the luxury space, are still very focused like on Web2. They still think that like e-commerce is the future, and here we are saying e-commerce like it's not the future, or basically we're just like one step ahead. So I think it's going to take some time for them like to adapt, plus all the operational issues. But of course like it's something that will come, because like I think that it can really overcome the problems that they have around creating communities around their brand, and like making the sense of ownership like stronger. Like in such a sense, I think that NFT kind of like NFT like is a technology, I would say, and then it can overlap part with the art, and part of course it will not be art, as we were saying. The probably like the NFT of McDonald's like will not be considered art like in such a sense, but still like it's gonna fulfill like the need for like creating like a community, and basically it's gonna be like the new, let's say, email marketing of like 2000, or such a sense, like something for which you can get basically access to exclusive content.
Fantastic. Some awesome final thoughts there to wrap up with. Thank you ever so much, guys. It's been a great experience. I've enjoyed this a lot personally, even going off script there. Just finally, I'll record this bit formally. So thank you very much to our guests, Alberto Vizona, IJ Maha, Abverb. Have I got it right that time? Yeah, there we go. William. Abverb. Oh, God. I tell you, us British people aren't good in the morning, buddy. There we go, corrected. William Laurent and Federico Natali. I've been Ben Bateman. If you like the cut of this jib of this show, I do another show, Never Mind the Shitcoin, so check that out as well. It's a little bit rude, though. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll be back soon with another topic and hopefully another panel of guests.
Thanks a lot,
Bye,
man.
everyone.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Good day.
Bye.